Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Sometimes we talk about the reality of energy that you can't see. Sometimes we speak about channeling itself. But we're not going to do that. Moments ago, precious dear soul has collapsed in the room. In what you would call emergency. And while the songs played, and now the channeling, she was carried out. Scientist, have you come for science today? Can you feel in the room not sorrow, but energy? An energy that didn't come from a machine, but has come from a collective consciousness. Scientist, are you aware of the experiments that show collective consciousness is related to physics? You're all the same, dear human. But in this moment, for reasons that the ones in this room have seen, this collective consciousness is going to be targeted to the one who is being carried away. I will tell you this, that synchronicity is truly the king when it comes to life planning and intuition. She planned to be here, sitting here in the chair with all of you. At some level, she knew of the healing power you had. That what might happen next would depend upon that which is in the room. There is a reason that she could not be taken out and literally experience the music, all of it. Part of the information of the lecture, all of it, while on the floor. While undergoing emergency with technicians. Part of her was celebrating the fact that she had made a choice, being in the right place at the right time. This collective consciousness, dear ones, can make such a difference right now. Dear ones, you have come to the right place at the right time. Whatever this means to you, whatever you think about energy, what it means, whether it has to be in an atom smasher or perhaps your own developed self. I'm going to ask you to create an explosion. An explosion of love, not concern and not worry. An explosion of celebration that you are all together at the right time, human to human. It's what you do. Maybe this is the reason for the meeting. 2 years in planning. Maybe this was it. In order to bring you together to help her. Dear ones, on this planet, there are discoveries yet to be made about that which is harmonizing of both physics and consciousness together. A coherence is being developed of caring. Where it doesn't matter whether you're esoteric or scientific, you're still human. And you start to understand how you're connected. My partner has spent the last 5 weeks talking about the connection between the stars and the dirt of the earth and all that is in between. The oneness that exists everywhere. I want you to let the oneness that you have right now be one with her. No matter where she's going right now, whatever care she has is nothing like what you can give her right now. Why don't you turn your mind on that? Not on the channeling, not on the information, not on the music. I want you to accompany her right now in her journey. I want you to make her feel peaceful. She may be unconscious, but oh boy, can she sense the peace that you can give her. Is it possible for a group of humans, almost 300 of you, to go with her now, to be with her now? Can you feel the energy here, the collective coherence that you would have together that would even affect her heart rate, her biology, her consciousness, her wellness, her being, her healing? It's a life change for her, and she chose it to be with you. I want you to honor that and the collectiveness of the synchronicity that brought you to this place, to witness it, to be part of it, and to go with her right now. I want you to think about her journey. I want you to be there on the stretcher with her as she goes. I want you to think that which is light, comfort, peace. These are the healing attributes of this planet, dear one. You're going to live longer if you can send that to each other. We have told you that the shift on this planet is starting to occur, tools that you never had before. The last channel was called New Light. Literally talking about light that creates light. The physics of light itself is quantum. And as you begin to create a new kind of light as a light worker, as an esoteric person, as a scientist, you increase your intuition, your understanding, and your togetherness. Be with her now. Be together with her. This is why you came. You come to enjoy information, and you will. You come for discovery. This is it. What have you discovered in the last few moments? That you care. That there's something more, perhaps, than just a conference. What if I told you this is what the conference is about? The discoveries here, even in the large ring, not too far away, are the discoveries of the core of life. And here you are, knowing full well that you can make a difference. Let's just take a moment. Just a moment in silence. Being with her on her journey. Making a difference for another human being. And then I want you to pull yourself back to here. What can you do for yourself? Are you aware of this projection going inside? This would be a good time for a healing for you. A beautiful time is at hand, one that was not designed by those who would organize the event. Filled with compassion, let's use it. To look inside yourself, no matter why you came, and think perhaps it's time for a healing. A healing that you came for, perhaps you didn't, but now that you have. This is the message of the day. even the scientists will talk about that which is a confluence of coherence on this planet, in science, in consciousness, where you start to come together to help one another. This was the lesson. Did you see it? Did you understand it? And how did it feel? Does it soften your heart to know that you can make a difference? Now soften your heart to make a difference in yourself. It's a good time for change. That is the message for now. There will be more later. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Indeed, the group is one that has come for several reasons. Channeling may be one. And before we begin the short message, but a powerful one, we wish to again examine the premise. What is your box of belief? And why have you come? For the next few minutes, in this place, can you dissolve what you've been told is possible, is accurate, is permissible, is real? And we say to you, it doesn't hurt a bit to suspend belief of what you've been told or what you expect for just a little while. It will not capture that which is inappropriate. It does not touch your soul in a way that is not correct. If you would expand your box, dear ones, it is free choice. And that free choice with your intent is met head on with appropriate love. I've told you a number of times something that isn't very scientific, at least it doesn't sound like it. And that is this: that the space between the nucleus and the electron haze of the atom is not empty at all. That instead it is filled with love. What you study scientifically gets closer and closer to the profound spiritual truth of everything. That you're all made of the same stuff. The stuff of the stars is here, is you. And you cannot separate that which is you from anything. That has been the message of Kryon. Does it sound like anything you might have heard today from the scientists? The discovery of what is in the atomic structure and how it aligns with everything else is the discovery of you. We are in the right place for me to once again speak of magnetics. The name they have given me and that I have then given myself is the Magnetic Master. Some would laugh at that, like it's some kind of magnetic angel. What does it mean? It means, dear ones, that the whole reason I'm here has something to do with magnetics. A few days ago, I gave a message on new light, and I talked about magnetics yet again, and I will now. I want to take you back. When my partner was finally peaceful with the process that you see here, I was able to speak of these things. The engineer brain that he still has is one that is stubborn and does not let everything in at the same time. It has to come in fragments like a puzzle that he then thinks he puts together. And then he has the great aha. Well, all the while, we've been giving him the hints so he can do it. This is his process. And when he relaxed with it, the message was this: that this planet is being prepared for a major consciousness shift. And literally 28 years ago, it began. I came with an entourage with the intent and the purpose of changing this planet's magnetic grid. And we did. And from 1989 to 2002 were the major changes. What we're telling you is that when we arrived to when we left, magnetic north points a different place. And it does. You can check it out for yourself, and we spoke of that before. Now we then enhance this information. Why? Such an esoteric idea, however, one that you can measure and see and validate. Why? And then we started speaking in the first communications, and we said, dear ones, your magnetic field is needed for your life force and your consciousness. It is one of the first times that has ever been spoken on the planet. 28 years ago, that was our message. A few years ago, my partner did something that he wanted to do so much. He was able to tour a place that engineers love to tour. He was invited and accepted to tour the Space Center, where the International Space Station modules were being prepared to be launched. And in that place, one of the buildings he toured was life science. There they were preparing the biological experiments to be placed in the International Space Station, where they can measure all manner of things in orbit. That is when my partner said something to the scientist who was in charge. He casually asked, are there any experiments, since you are outside the majority of the magnetic field, where you would have experiments that would measure life in and out of magnetics. And the scientist looked at him, and you'll never forget the look. Like, what? You're kidding. We're not going to do that. It's not necessary. He was discounted completely. Of course, as a tourist. A few years ago, science came out with a revelation. And the revelation is this: the human being has sat in the magnetic field of this earth since its creation, since they were the dust of the earth, all through evolution. It is part of them. It is part of their organs, of their life force, and it is needed for life. All that expense of getting all of that gear into orbit, and you missed it. And now you know. This is now so acknowledged even from the scientists who plan rocketry and space travel that they now are saying if human beings ever take a very long voyage in a spaceship of your design, you're going to have to emulate the magnetic grid and take it with you, or you will not survive. Do you see what's happening? There is now an acknowledgement of the alliance between your body and basic magnetism. Then there is the discovery of the magnetic field surrounding you, your heart, your body. No one has even mentioned Merkava yet, and yet that is related to all of it. What if I told you, dear ones, that magnetics is everything? It is part of the life force of the planet, and within the secrets of it are all of the secrets of the physics that you want to know. It is allied with consciousness, and finally, that has been discovered. Now there is an agreement, a protocol, that human consciousness and emotion actually can change factors and attributes within the magnetic field itself. There is the beginning of the understanding of coherence between life force of you and the elements of the earth. Science is starting to discover the truth about magnetics. Oh, there's more. If you could see that which is within the magnetic fields of both yourself, the animals, the trees, and the earth, you would see harmonious patterns that are beginning to change. Today, there was the discussion of the field. 8 years ago, I started talking about the field and the changes within it. No one has yet to mention or perhaps even discover or even think about the possibility that the basic idea and protocol of physics might have actually shifted a little in the last 30 years. And the reason you haven't looked for it is because you didn't expect it. After all, physics is physics. Once you get the rules, they never change. Or do they? Is it possible that the very protocols of physics is not as absolute as you think? What if the field itself that you study and want to know about is shifting while you study it? And you wouldn't expect that. Imagine an experiment where you were trying to determine something absolute that keeps moving. Now that is going to be confusing. But the idea that it might move at all is not in the consciousness of any scientist. They have discovered something else. And this is a hint to them that they have not yet seen here. Astronomers have looked out into space and observed other galaxies and their physics. And they were shocked and surprised to find out that the physics of some other galaxies are different from yours. Now, how would you explain that if physics is physics? If the rules are the same all over the universe, you shouldn't see major differences from cluster to cluster, unless, of course, the cluster has changed it. Dear ones, you are changing physics. I, the entourage, responded to humans when we came here 28 years ago and began to move the magnetics of the planet to posture your consciousness for mastery. The link between consciousness and magnetics has been established. So what happens when you move one? The other one also has the allowance, the ability to also move. And the changes you're starting to see are in the field. This thing you have called the field, where everything is, starts to move into an area that my partner has called physics with an attitude. It starts to arrange things, the very elements, biology, consciousness, and push them into harmony. This field that we have spoken of now for years is where you live, is how you think. It affects everything you do, how you arrange your lives, your countries, your business, your politics, because the field is how you think. It is called human nature. And the field itself is starting to want to push things into a harmonious place. Do you see, dear ones, how this may change this planet during this major shift since 2012 to be commensurate, that is, to be acceptable and coherent with what we have said is coming regarding peace on earth? When you think differently and you're pushed into a harmonious thinking, then you come up with different ideas and different plans, some of whom are very profound and never thought of before. All because of magnetics and their effect on you and your effect on them. There is more in magnetics than you will ever know until you discover them, dear ones. You are looking for pieces and parts of atomic structure, and magnetic sits there and shouts at you, look at me, look at me, look at me. And you're not. You use giant magnets to steer protons to crash them together. Dear ones, excuse me, you're using gold to discover tin. I have said before, do you want to know how to manipulate physics? Use magnetic polarity. I have asked you to begin to experiment with magnetics in ways you never have before and never thought of. I want to bring something to your attention. I want you to go back with me to the workshop of a man named Tesla. I want you to look at the ceiling of his workshop. What are all of those pockmarks up there where things flew off the shelf and hit the ceiling repeatedly? He was playing with magnetics, but he didn't have the computers, the elegance, the refinements you really have today. I want you to think of this. Anyone listening to this who takes this seriously, magnetic fields at right angles to each other, dear ones, magnetic toroids in alignment and coherence at right angles to each other. Dear ones, it's not magnetics like you know now. Create magnetic plasmas. Make them bend where you want to. Magnetize cesium gas so you can control the shape of it. Make the correct toroidals. And then work them against each other and see the magic nobody has seen except Tesla. And when you start this, and when you discover it, remember the day where I sat here and told you it would work. You're on the cusp of major physics, the discovery beyond anything the big circular thingy will give you. That doesn't make me popular with those who run the big circular thingy. It's coming. The field is changing, and it's starting to align human nature and consciousness with free choice toward more of a harmonious reality than what you thought human nature was supposed to be. And all of that we have told you now for all of these years. This is what's happening. This is why it's happening. And the inventions are coming. The inventions are coming that will change everything. Kryon, why not now? Where are they? We're ready. No, you're not. You're close, but no, you're not. Because the changes we're going to show you in physics, you have to be in a place where you will never weaponize them. Do you understand this? You're almost there. A generation perhaps sooner. Did you notice that the other discoveries, the biology, what you've asked for, life extension, understanding, telomere measurement, all of these mysteries are starting to occur. They're ready to align themselves with the big one, coming soon. But not here. You sit in the right place, dear ones. I've given messages today that some will find very amusing. And they will laugh for a while. And when it happens, you'll realize the impact on everything you are and do. Because everything that's happening, dear ones, with your allowance is benevolent. Because you passed that marker, that shift. The very thing that you sing the pineal tones about, and you collect yourselves in an esoteric way, and you start to combine science with spirituality. That's the truth. Because you cannot separate what God has created into layers that you study. The master physicist is the creator of the universe, and the master physicist is divine. Just like what you have inside you, just like what's in every single atom of the universe, all together, woven in a pattern that sings the light to you, waiting to be discovered. That's it for now. Think of these things. Some will think they're very funny. Others will see the profundity and the truth within them. And there be maybe just one other who might take it seriously, because Tesla is back. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Dear ones, this is a sacred time. We have to again say in the meeting here that the thing that makes it a soup of coherence is how you perceive it. Do you feel these messages are from the other side of the veil? Or something else? My partner has been doing this now for 28 years. And in that time, every single time he's let me through, I recognize those in the chairs. As believers, as unbelievers, it doesn't matter. I see them as souls that I know. Free will creates that which often is dissension. Sometimes those who are intellectual and scientific are not ready to consider that this could be real. It upsets the structure that they almost worship. And then there are those who have the ability to go between, realizing again that the master physicist is responsible for this and the other. That you can have beautiful rules of physics and at the same time beautiful love, compassion, and the belief that there's energy that you haven't yet tapped, that is human consciousness. The beginning of the experiments on this planet that see consciousness and physics together are starting to show that, dear ones, what you think can create things. Is it possible, literally, that human consciousness could change the reality of the planet, that which you live in, and bring peace to the world? And the answer is yes. But perhaps not as you designed your thoughts or that you were told by those who were spiritual. I am not talking about a time when everybody awakens to spiritual things. No, not at all. Not even close. I'm talking about a time when humanity awakens to harmonious potential and sees that as the answer for reality. And some of them will ally it to spirituality, and some will say it's simply common sense. And it doesn't matter. You're going to have an entire earth one day, still with many spiritual systems, but ones that get along. Ones that say, well, this is how our history says we should worship. And this is the prophet that carries that which we are interested in. But we are monotheistic and realize that you have your way of loving and worship too. And it may not be our way, but it is not the wrong way, because God is God and love is love. And dear ones, that is evolution. It's not going to be a planet that awakens to that which is odd, esoteric, or even one system. It's better than that. It's humans that are saying it's self-evident that harmony is survival, and that the glue of that seems to be understanding and compassion. It seems to change everything. If you could analyze truly what this is, I will tell you, humanity is starting to move off of default human nature. Human nature is that which humans say is the attitude that is normal. What humans do with humans. Look at history. It repeats itself. That is human nature. No, dear ones, that is old human nature. That is what we will call default human nature. That's what you start with until you realize you can change it. The biggest aha that humans will have spiritually is that the God outside has become the God inside. And that the default perception of God was that God is over there and that humans are in here. And they never meet. That's the default understanding of the Creator, which is so big and you're so small. And yet in these days, old souls are starting to remember and feel that inside them somehow there's a piece of the Creator, a section. Somehow they're beginning to figure it differently than they were taught. Somehow they know that they are loved no matter what. Somehow they are beginning to be released from the guilt of what they were told. And that allows them to develop the joy of what they're going to do in the future. Imagine the majority population of the planet pushing in one direction. Harmony. Get along. Understand. Make it work. Get along. Understand. Make it work. Because that has never happened. Default human nature has those in a group surround themselves and compete. And whether it was small city-states or larger countries, the competition was clear for resources, for ideas, for ego, for power. You haven't done this, dear ones, for 70 years. Do you realize that? It's the outcast country who's doing that today. Would you say, perhaps, that things have changed a little? And that the majority of countries on the planet, even former enemies and former conquerors of the ages, have put themselves together to talk a lie and make it work. You're seeing changes right now in what you would call the Union and the Zone. And the reason is because it's old. If some would understand that it needs to be rewritten, updated, and created in an elegant way instead of simply leaving, it might work better. Those who can't join because it doesn't make sense economically know that it needs to be rewritten. Dear ones, the evolution will create ways and ideas that have not yet been thought of, that make total sense, that are doable, and that will bring it together. Those who may leave will come back. This is not the end of the zone. It is the beginning of change. You see, it has moved off of the default position. You study physicists and the way they act and what they think of and how creative they are as they study default physics. Default physics are laws they see and consider absolute no matter what. We have said that, dear ones, the default is not where you should be looking and putting your interest. It's what you can change. Moving off the default will allow you to then manipulate the default. Inside you, to bring you to this meeting, some of you have manipulated the default. Who were you a few years ago? Is it the same human being, or did you make a change? What were you told in the beginning by those around you and your parents, and what are you doing now? I'll tell you, old soul listening to this, that many of you have moved off of the default position of what others consider to be normal. And where you have moved is a place that says, I can control it past normal. What is the default lifespan of you? Do you have a date where you stop breathing? And I will tell you something. If you have continued to look at this as the default, there is a date when you'll stop breathing. But so many of you have said, now I realize that all along there has been an energy that no one really told me about. Consciousness can literally give instructions to cells and DNA. And I can activate, if you want to call it that, pieces and parts of my chemistry that have always been on default. They haven't even awakened. They simply sit there, but nobody's talking to them. And now I realize that I have moved off of the default because I'm going to live a long time. Some have begun to heal themselves, some in this room with miracles, that aren't really miracles. You've just moved off the default. It's simple. You're now starting to see the workings past that which you were born with. Now here's the good news. That as this evolution starts to take place and more generations go by, the default will change. Already there are young people who understand there is more than they were told in every single aspect of life. They see everything as old and changeable. What is the default of politics all over the world? And you might say, well, distrust, corruption, ego, and power. What if I told you that that default is going to change? And that those countries which have elections will start to see inside the personalities of those running and will no longer want those who are out of integrity. That they'll be able to see it and sense it. And the default way of doing politics will actually bury a candidate instead of getting them elected. What is the default of business as usual? Of corporate structure? What if I told you that was going to start changing? Where corporations would be more involved with those who are working for them. Where there might actually be a reward system where the heads of corporations share income in proportion with their stock price. But if I told you that the good old boys club won't be for long. Everything I've described is something that is moving off of default. Don't let anyone tell you how things work, dear ones, because you are changing it. It is the best news I can give you, but it carries with it worry, change, upset, anxiety, because you want default. At some level, all of you want to walk outside and have it the same way it was when you walked in. And dear ones, that's not always the case. Slow is best. Do you understand why? Because when things take a while, they have more sticking power. They become the way of it. And people start to see the sense of it by themselves. And slowly but surely, you start to see things move in directions they've never moved before, off of default. There'll come a day when at this beautiful idea of CERN, they'll have a museum. There'll be no more particle acceleration. And people will come to see it and they'll say, how quaint. It was a marvelous attempt. Look at the engineering of what they accomplished. And you'll know a lot more than you know now without many machines at all. Some things will start to show themselves that are not default. How do you see inside an atom? Maybe, just maybe, it's not by crashing photons together. You'll see. Meanwhile, I want you to see what is here and the cooperation and the beauty of the idea of a peaceful group of people from all over the world with one common goal. to find out what God did. Have a good evening. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The room really has been warmed up. Over the days and the channeling, the information, the epiphanies, the room is filled with appropriate energy. And that energy is a soft one. The invitation of introspection, of realization, allowance. Something that gives you permission to think outside of that bubble or box of reality you think you know so well. And the beauty of this is that nothing you discover today, nothing will change you in an inappropriate way. Everything you may learn that is expansive creates more benevolence in your life. There is nothing here at all that will harm you or change you to a way that you don't want. Instead, there is only beauty. There is knowledge presented in this room that really makes you wonder, are you bigger? Is God bigger than you were told? Is history bigger? Is the lineage of your humanness bigger? Do you have an Akashic record which is far grander than you ever thought? Is it possible that your Akash goes back over 50,000 years? And if it does, what is in there that might come forward today to validate who you really are? And who you really are is the issue. A soul that is very old, has experienced a great deal. But up to now, all of that has hidden behind a veil of understanding. That veil is starting to get weaker, thinner, allowing for some things to come through it that are going to enhance you. What were you told? What were you told about who you are? Dear ones, I want you to think about the difference between being told and the reality of feeling it. Sometimes there's a feeling of betrayal when you discover something so grand and yet you were told something different. I'll ask you this again. Perhaps those who gave you your reality today have passed on. Perhaps they're not on the earth anymore, but they shaped your life. They shaped the spiritual part of you, or the unspiritual part. They gave you information. It's the best they had. And suddenly you discover there's more, and it's real, and it's so different than what they said. I want to tell you right now that they're in a place that knows what you know. If I could paint a picture, their hand has always been out saying, look, find the rest, find the rest, find the rest of the story. There is no betrayal in finding truth. No betrayal. There are those of you who are saying, I have so many questions, it feels so different. There's almost too much information. What do I do? How do I sort this out? What should I do first? Some of you, so proud of your abilities to think in a high fashion, very intelligent you are. You have the intellect of one, perhaps even greater than others. And that intellect has brought you to a place where you were pondering the beyond and doing it well. And I'm going to ask you to stop pondering for just a moment and start feeling. When you were a child, there was so much unknown. Some things were frightening. You didn't understand how things worked, but your mother or father did. Can you remember that far back, taking the hand of the parent, mother or father, and walking out of the house and being taken somewhere that was different? There were sounds and smells and protocols and people so different. And it was frightening because you didn't understand it. But as long as you had your hand in the hand of mother or father, it was fine. Because they were there to guide you through that unknown. Can you remember the feeling? On one hand, you are frightened. On the other, you're peaceful. Mom is there, dad is there. Sometimes you will hide behind their leg and come out when you felt everything was okay. Children all do this. It's that part where they learn the reality which is beyond that of the child. And that metaphor is clear. What we wish to show truly is that is what you're being asked to do now. Don't figure it out, dear ones. Take the hand of Spirit, which is inside you so completely that you can see it, you can feel it. You don't have to have conjecture. You don't have to have the analysis, what it might be, what is going on, what might happen, all of those things on that list that you built. Instead, day by day, feeling it, having now intuition about it all, and not that which you have created in advance from your high thinking. This is the invitation. Now be clear, that high thinking will begin to shift and change as the new reality is apparent. And then the high thinking becomes intuition, and all of it is appropriate. And now it's more accurate than it ever was before. This is the new paradigm. Not knowing what is going to happen tomorrow, trusting that all is benevolent and on a path that is known at some level by the web of time. That you are known by God, directed by God, and that is inside you. And that God is everywhere, including inside you. That when you go out at night and look at the stars, you are looking at you, part of the stuff that you came from. Dear ones, your lineage is from here and the stars. Many of them, not just one planet around one star. You are from this galaxy, all of you, in ways that would shock you if you knew the truth. You watched this universe in its creative stages. You have been here longer than time. You are eternal in both directions, which is an impossibility for some brains to think of. You always have to have a beginning, don't you? What if I told you that it's in a circle? There is no beginning. There is no end. There just is. And that's the beauty of who you are. Think of this. Your soul is now being something you're discovering in this, the new age. And none of it stops the beauty and the glory of God. It only enhances the creative force. You're starting to discover the truth of the benevolence and the beauty of God inside you. A God that does not do dysfunctional things like punish. A God that doesn't care what you wear, but cares only about the love that you give back, so that you can take the hand of the parent, which is yourself, and walk through life unafraid. Can you do this? What did you bring into the room that you worry about today? What is it that you are concerned about for tomorrow? Can you take the hand of the peace of the Creator in you and have peace? A double meaning. And can you then relax with it? So much so that you can take a deep breath and say, all is well. Humans must survive. And part of that is the idea that you must know what is going to take place in the future. What if I told you that you can have both without the worry? You can know what is in the future as a benevolent outcome and solution because you are part of all of it. In a way that is grander than you think or you know. You don't have to push things to make them happen. Someone in here needs to know that you can finally relax with what is going to take place in the immediate future. 5 of you needed to hear that right now. Dear ones, you're going to live longer if you can cast this away and put it where it belongs, in the hand of God. Do you remember when you were a child what it felt like not to have to worry about tomorrow? Claim it right now, because that is the relationship between you and the Creator. I'll be back. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. now come to this room many times. Some of you are used to the channeling, others tolerate it. Others are in the dark. Dear ones, this is a time of reflection. It's a time of compassion, understanding, tolerance. It's a scientific meeting filled with spirituality and esoterics. There's something here for everyone. But this is the closing channel. This is a time when you'd think we would say goodbye. How many times have we faced this particular situation where we say there is no goodbye? I'm going to offer up something. I'm going to call it the 5 alignments. What are you aligning with right now? As you sit in the chairs, as you ponder all the things that you have seen in the last 3 days. Number 1, what is your alignment with the others that you have met? Is there one? Do you feel something that might be unusual here and not just social? Perhaps this is your first time to a meeting that is this esoteric. Perhaps it's not. But have you met those that you feel you've either known before or are so familiar that they're family? Have you gone out of your way to perhaps say hello to others? I would like to tell you it goes way beyond that, dear ones. Old souls intermix in such beautiful ways. You've heard of the field. We're in a good place to talk about the physics of it, but we're not going to. It creates synchronicities and harmonies and things that you could never plan yourself. Have you met friends from other places? Meetings with old souls often bring the synchronicity of this together. It's almost like an invitation to see and feel things that you would never feel or see in a meeting that was not like this. An alignment is not a friendship. An alignment is a meld. And the best way to align with another person is through compassion. You've heard the words here many times. The togetherness, the resonance, the confluence. When you put energies together and they resound one with another. That's alignment. Did you know that you could instantly right now have an alignment with everyone in the room? Alignment. You are starting to think like they think because you have a common goal. Or you have that which is a commonality, and that would be God inside. Is there an alignment here? The meeting started not by accident with the collapse of a soul here. And there were 2 reasons for it, dear ones. And the one is to melt your heart, put you in a way that was harmonious with her. And instantly there were many who went into a meditation mode of healing, of peace, of benevolence. And the second reason it happened was for her healing. If she's going to collapse, there is no better place than here. That is how the meeting started. The first channel. The first time that I came in with my partner in this series, there was a seeming emergency among you. That is an alignment. Now here's a question. Can you align without the emergency? Can you see the God in every single one of these people? You don't even speak the same language. Does it really matter? Can you return to that moment 3 days ago when your hearts were melted? When you were with that soul and you were giving her peace and pouring her compassion and you had a common goal? That is alignment, not friendship. That lets two individuals who've never seen each other stand and hug one another because they just experienced a compassion together. Number 2, what is your alignment with nature? When my partner started the tour that will end soon, he was in a majestic place. It was a quiet place in the desert called Monument Valley. There was such silence you could feel it. There was a unity to the land because those indigenous had practiced for eons, seemingly. The ones, their ancestors before them even, they honored the land. They loved the land. They aligned with the land. And that's how it began. On to Europe, he ended the alliance with the planet, teaching in Ireland, where the land comes alive. So much grows there. There's so much life that the tradition and the mythology is always the ability to see the little people. That is a land that is multidimensional. What is your alliance with the land? Can you align with nature? And there are those who had said, well, I would like to, but I work in the city. I'm in an office. I come and go. Or I don't work at all, but it's difficult to get out of town. Dear ones, getting out of town has nothing to do with it. When you breathe the air, do you recognize where the oxygen came from? Do you realize that the plants and the trees gave it to you? That there's a symbiotic relationship, whether you want it or not, with nature? Is there an alliance, an alignment in your life with nature? And if there is not, I'll tell you something. That this is one of the best alignments you could have. Because you are from the dirt of the earth. If you look at how you got here as life itself, it was a mixture of the elements that created you. Coming right out of the elements, that which is the earth itself, developing the symbiotic relationship with the trees and the plants so that you could exist and live eons ago brought you to this place. It's no time to forget that. That's alignment number 2. Alignment 3. What is your alignment with the stars? Oh, dear ones, this is a good one. And you might say, well, I really don't have an alignment with the stars, actually. And I would say, why? And you would say, well, it's not relevant to my life. I still live in the cities. I can't even see the star. Did you realize that the stars and the planets and the solar systems that revolve around them are all of the same stuff that your Earth is made of? I've said it before, that the elements on this planet are the elements in the galaxy. There's not a lot of unknown elements. They're all here. Oh, perhaps you struggle to see what's inside the atom, but you don't have to struggle to understand that there is dirt everywhere. Indeed, there's different gravities, there's different gases, there are different sizes, but I am talking about the fact that this earth came from all of them. And you're part of the earth. And that means when you cast your eyes to the stars, they are part of you. Did you hear some of the teaching today from the scientists who talked about that which is so close to you, and that is the DNA? Did you hear them discuss the fact that perhaps, just perhaps, you didn't come from anything here? And if that's the case, where did you come from? Dear ones, you are a combination of the biology of the evolution of the planet and the evolution of consciousness from the stars. What is your alignment with the stars and those in the stars? Is it possible that there are consciousnesses outside of your planet that are active, that you can feel, that you can understand the benevolence of? Could there be others watching you or even here that only have you in mind and your shift and the benevolence and the compassion to help you through it? And the answer is yes. So what is your relationship to the stars? Dear scientists, is it a stretch to break the barriers of belief and think for a moment there might be more to life than you think? It is so big. The enormity of the reality of who you are and where you have come from is astonishing. And there you sit, wondering who you are. What if I told you there are far more entities in the galaxy that know you than there are humans on the planet? That know the condition that you have, free will, hands off, until you make the decision that you have started to make of the shift. New things are coming to this planet as you evolve esoterically in your consciousness and begin to realize the alignment to the stars is real. There are other alignments. Number 4. What is your alignment to you? Kryon, what do you mean? What is my alignment to me? That's an odd question. I'm just me. Really. And how do you feel about just me? When you think about who you are, how you feel in life, is there an alignment with you? I started this by asking, what is your alignment with others? Can you see the God in others? Can you see the God in yourself? What is your alignment with yourself? I will tell you yet again and again and again. So many humans, even those old souls, look at that alignment and it's broken because they see themselves as unworthy, as less than. Are you in love with yourself in a non-egotistical way? Or is it dysfunctional? I'll tell you, most of all, it's dysfunctional. And that, my dear human, is one of the first alignments that you're going to have to make. Well, Kryon, if it's the first alignment, why is it number 4? And the answer I will give you in a moment. How is it you with you? When you walk out of the room, do you think things like, I am worthy to be here. This was beautiful because I created it beautiful. Did you learn during the 3 days that you don't have to ask for things? Who would you be asking? God? When God is inside you, are you asking yourself? The paradigm has changed. Instead of asking, you are aligning. Aligning with the truth, a reality of who you are. You learn that affirmations and the proper way of stating and feeling them actually often are in contrast with the moment. The sick person affirming health in 3 dimensions would seem to be foolish. But if you understood how the working of this is, you'd understand that the sick person affirming their health is talking about who they are becoming, who they will become, aligning with the future of someone who is healthy. That is an alignment with yourself. Are you in that mode? Do you understand that? Are you worthy? Can you sit before God and know you belong? When you think of the auditorium, which is the earth, is there a seat with your name on it, or are you sitting in the back? Did you ever think of that? Where is your place, dear ones? Do you belong? Or are you just on the sidelines, hoping to exist? Perhaps you've had something beat you up, like disease. And now you've been told that all of this is part of your own thinking. And you could have victory over it if the alignment with you is there. How are you aligned with yourself? Can you have a visualization of hugging yourself and saying, good job. We've gone through another day. We're becoming more balanced, and we're starting to understand love. Is that you? Dear ones, it is if you wish it to be. Free will is always the key. These are things you can do or not as you choose. That was number 4. Number 5. What is your relationship to the Creator? Have you figured it out yet? Is it possible that you have inside you a piece of that which you call God, which we call the creative source? Did you recognize the difference in language between God and the creative source? God is a singular name from one force. The creative source is expansive. It can be as many as you want. Did you know that God is many? Did you know that it is infinite and all over? Did you know that it permeates every single piece of matter? It is not one at all. What is your relationship to matter? Can you align with the Creator? Because the Creator is in you. If the answer is yes, even marginally yes, then you have to say to yourself, therefore, I am that I am, multidimensional. A piece of every single human being, beyond that which you can see, has many dimensions. There is where the evolution of humanity will occur. The alignment between you and the creative source will create a multidimensional change in you. One who starts to become multidimensional starts to soar in their intellect, in their intuition, and that is where all things new will become real. What is your alignment with the creative source? As you walk out the door, can you say, I'm a piece of the creation. I have it inside me. I am eternal. Now I just gave you 5, and now I'll tell you a secret. There's only one. I just gave you 5 pieces of the one alignment. There is only one alignment, and it is in a circle. All of you are together in the field. There is an invitation for you to feel this. All of you are together with the alignment with the creative source. All of you are together with the alignment of yourself. All of you are together in the alignment with nature and the stars. It is one alignment with many facets, like a jewel, like a diamond that wants to shine so bright. And once you start to see it intermingle, you start to understand all that is that you have inside you. It is that point in time when you realize that it's all connected. It is that time when you realize you can't be alone, and that other individuals and other souls and their benevolence and their love for you is very real and very caring, very loving. You cannot be alone. We have told you that if you go into a closet and shut the door, there's a million angels with you. But dear ones, if everyone is part of the creative source, that means that everyone in earth at some level is also in that closet. Can you align with that thought? You're not alone. You were never alone. But the 3-dimensionality of an old energy, the veil, comes down and deceives you. It says that you are nothing, you're less than, you don't have a chance. No one cares, no one loves you. And that when you die, it's over. Those are the deceptions that we have covered before. The veil is starting to lift, and you know better. You know better. All that has been said in these last 3 days talk about this fact. The discoveries of old point to this fact, that there is a new energy on the planet and that you are sitting in it. Dear old soul, what does all this mean? The new paradigm that is here asks you to look at things differently because of what is going to happen on the planet and begin with old souls. There are those in the room who do not believe in channeling, but you might believe in love. And you might leave this place a little different, having heard this, having felt what is here. There are those here who understand everything I've said, because there are several of you who will leave healed, and you haven't even discovered it yet. When you start the alignment, the one alignment with all that is, suddenly the divinity of who you are starts to wrap around you, and you realize you don't have to figure it out. You don't have to know the details. Things you may have forgotten this day are still in there. Things that you pretend to have learned this day, you haven't learned at all. You are simply remembering them. This is the old soul and the new energy. The one who is different, who craves balance, who starts to understand themselves and all that they might be able to accomplish as they walk out of here and show others their light. It is a new earth. You are a new human, if you choose to understand what I have just given you. It's up to you. Don't be afraid of the love of God. Some of you have never really let it in. You turn it on and off, don't you? It's only available when you meditate, perhaps, not understanding that it's 24/7. You should feel it as you speak to others, as you eat dinner, as you go to sleep, as you wake up. It is so prevalent. There's nothing like the lover you have with the creative source. Until next time, think of these things, and so it is.